Welcome to Snetterton for the season finale and the final deciding round of the Dunlop Radical UK Cup. There are only a few points separating the top 4 teams, so there's still everything to play for this weekend. The first race of the weekend was yesterday on Saturday, and we caught up with some of the drivers to see how they got on.
Yeah, it was a tricky race. We started on pole obviously after a great qualifying session, but it was really wet and Dunlop had managed to sell out of wets. I think people have been buying them up. So we were on old tyres which didn't have quite as good edges, and when it really rained in the middle stint of the race it really kind of affected us. We also got beaten around by Manhal, who was 3 laps down and decided to not listen to or look at the blue flags and try and have us off. And that meant we didn't really put enough of a gap over Tony Wells before James got in the car. And James put in a mega stint and on new tyres managed to catch us and overtake us, which was a vital place for the championship.
And obviously in terms of the race today, you've qualified 5th. How do you plan to make up those places?
Well, obviously we need a good start, and we saw what happened with Manhal at the start yesterday. Anything can happen, but we're starting in 5th. All I know is I need to go forward. We need to beat Tony and James to keep the lead of the championship. So we need to pull it out of the bag really. So going forward's the aim.
And do you know that there's only a point between you and Colin as well at this stage?
Yeah, it's all very close. This is the way you want motor racing. It's what makes us tick. It's why we come racing. So it's great to have it this tight at the end, and hopefully we'll have a good day. We'll push hard. We'll win the race, and we'll take the championship.
So Tony, you had a fantastic result yesterday. How are you feeling?
Yeah, it was absolutely perfect, wasn't it? I mean, the race went really well. I mean, I was in 3rd. I got 2nd off the line, followed Zach. We had a good race throughout. Sort of buried under his rear wing at the change, and then James is just a star. Made up the 15-second gap and won the race. So, it's all to play for now.
The plan for today is do a rain dance. So hopefully it's going to rain before our race. The conditions will be similar to that they were yesterday, and that will hopefully give us a good advantage. And I can give Tony, let's say a 30-second lead at the pit stops, and then he can cruise to victory.
And it's very close at the top, isn't it, in terms of standing?
Yeah, I think there's 5 points between Zach Chapman, who's leading, and us in 2nd place. So we've really got nothing to lose now. It's all or nothing, as you said, starting from pole. So we've really just got to translate that into another win.
So Manhal, how are you feeling about your race yesterday, race 1?
Didn't really go to plan. I had contact with another car into turn 2, caused some front splitter damage, had to come in twice into the pits, so I lost a lot of time.
You've qualified 3rd today, so a good qualifying position. What's your strategy?
My strategy today is not to have any issues or incidents whatsoever. Just try to keep behind James Little John, who's starting on pole. P2 is an SR3 car, so that shouldn't be a problem. And then try to stay within 15 seconds of him, so I come out after the pits hopefully in 1st position. Tony by then wouldn't have driven in the first half, so he's not going to be as familiar with the circuit as I will be. That's the plan.
So Roger, you and Jonathan had a fantastic race yesterday, didn't you?
Amazing, wasn't it? We had a riot, yeah, and a ridiculous step of the podium. I don't really deserve to be there, to be quite honest.
And talk about your qualifying yesterday as well, because today you haven't qualified quite as well as you did for race 1 yesterday.
That's right. Yeah, Jonathan qualified in Q1 yesterday, and it was wet, but it was pretty okay. They had, I think, 6 or 7 straight clear laps, which was great. And then we went out for qualifying Q2, and we had a red flag after 2 laps, and then went back out. And on the out lap, there were 3 cars in the wall, and we were red flagged again. So I think I got 1 kind of lap, and that was, I think it was about 4.5 minutes, but it might have been 5.
Okay. And there wasn't much between you and Zach, one of the front runners, Zach Chapman.
What happened was in the race yesterday, it absolutely chucked it down in Jonathan's stint, and then I jumped in, and it wasn't drying at all, but we certainly saw a line that was less outrageously wet than the rest of the track, and we used that. And at the end of that, Zach was kind of going quite well. He does go well in the wet, and my lap time wasn't a long way off. So either he had a big problem with the car, or I was going quite well. So it's one of the two.
So Roger, can you talk to us about your race yesterday?
Yeah, it was quite eventful. We had a very rare issue before the start in the drive shaft went just as I pulled onto the grid. So I had to come straight into the pits, and the guys did an amazing job to replace it in like a couple of minutes. I joined the race probably about 30 seconds after everybody else had gone. So there's a bit of a catch-up, and the weather conditions were awful, and it got worse and worse most of the race, but we managed to sort of pick our way through slowly but surely, just sort of taking it as cautiously as you can, in those kind of conditions, and we ended up finishing third in class, so a proper result from where we started.
It was really wet and slippery, as a lot of people found. So in the midpoint, when we did the driver change, I just left and got my head down and drove as fast as I could. But car was fantastic, brakes were great. I was having, where I was losing a little bit of time, I think, is not realising how hard you can open the throttle, even in the rain. These cars have got very good traction. And anyway, I got my head around that, and it was a very enjoyable race. Enjoyed it.
Excellent. And plans for today? Obviously, you're out there first.
Yeah, I mean, the qualifying was a bit muddled up, so we're 10th on the grid. Again, I'm just going to get my head down and pedal like mad, see what happens.
So, Alex, how did race 1 go for you yesterday here at Snetterton?
Race 1 was brilliant for us yesterday. Everything just happened to go right on the day. We have been learning this year. We've been coming on. Tom has been coming from a complete novice who'd never driven a race car 12 months ago to being really on the pace yesterday. A few other guys fell off, and we had a good qualifying as well, and we got our first win, so it was ideal for us.
I had an absolutely fantastic race in the really, really wet conditions. I started the race, and immediately on the first lap I had a spin. I lost something like 20 seconds, and I was just in a real mess. And then I got back on the track, just put my foot down, and just went storming back through the field. And amazingly, I got back up to second place, and then we got into first place. And yeah, it was just an amazing win.
So, Colin, yesterday's race was a bit disappointing for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, we got a really good start. We were off the front row actually. We did really well in qualifying and got a good run in the qualifying, and had a bit of an accident towards the end, but got the car sorted out in the first race, and then first lap, first corner, got tagged, spun a wee bit, went back a bit, got back up to running third on the road overall, which we were delighted with, and we had a wee bit of damage from the contact, so we had to come in at the pit stop and repair that and sort some rear lights because they were getting a bit concerned because of the spray. So that put us back. So yeah, we still finished third though, so we're happy enough at that and still leading overall. So all in all, we can't complain.
It's very close at the top, isn't it? So what do you think your chances are today, having qualified fourth?
Well, second SR3. We've actually won the SR3, I think, now anyway. We're looking to go overall. So just best result in the SR3 we possibly can get, to be perfectly honest with you. The weather's mixed, as you can see. Ideally, if it's wet, at least we all are on the same playing field, but it's half wet, half dry. It's a big call. So all in all, just head down and get going.
So Andy, it wasn't the best race for you yesterday, was it?
No, I have to say, unfortunately, that's the worst conditions I've ever raced, and it was pretty horrendous out there, to be honest. And I kind of spoilt our chances a bit in race 1 by putting the car off, so we got to start from the back of the grid today. So we're not good, really.
And what was it about the conditions that were so difficult for you to drive in?
It wasn't so much how much water was out there, although that compounded the issue. It's just that there was that much water, and with the temperatures being so low, there was just no grip at all. And as soon as you got onto the grass, you just started picking up speed. So it was very, very tricky, very tricky.
And what's the strategy for today then?
Go as fast as I possibly can, really, because we're starting at the back. All I've got to do is just overtake as many people as I possibly can, try and get fastest lap, and keep it on the black stuff.
Well, as you know, it's been a really exciting season of racing with the Dunlop Radical UK Cup, and as the season draws to its finale, we spoke to some of the drivers to find out what their highlight has been.
Well, the SR8 is just such a thrill. I mean, I put it on pole at Spa, and I can still relive the lap, right, because the car is so fast. And you go flat through Bollenchimon in 6th gear. It's just an amazing feeling. So it's just been brilliant. It's a lot of car for the money. You get a massive thrill for not a lot, really, and I just love it.
Probably all the people, to be honest with you. They just make it so much fun. All the guys at Radical are brilliant. And yesterday, before I got out, I was lucky that I got out, really. But there's sort of 8 people who'll come and attack the car, and get it all ready for you, which is great. I mean, like I say, all the guys are just brilliant, and that is what really makes it really enjoyable for us.
Yeah, it's been a real pleasure just being able to drive the SR8, which is a fantastic car, fantastic series, and great people.
I've raced five meetings this season, of which include Red Bull Ring in Austria and Paul Ricard in France, and I've always wanted to race at both of those tracks. I mean, these are epic, tracks that everybody's heard. Well, everybody's in boring racing has heard of. Even I've heard of those ones. So, and racing those was incredible. I mean, really incredible. It was wet at Red Bull, so perhaps that gave me a bit of practice for this, because I did quite well at Red Bull as well. So
The really cool thing about these cars is they are, motor race is expensive, but relatively speaking, for the speed of these cars, they're very fast cars, they're relatively cheap. And they're all equal, and you can have a fantastic season of racing. I don't think you can get it anywhere else cheaper than this for the performance, and I think that's what brings people to Radical.
The highlight for me was the last round at Donington. To beat the best in Europe in both races was, we were just on such a high that weekend. It was brilliant.
It's every race is different and every meeting's different, but just being consistent and reliability and just generally keeping out of troubles. I just enjoy all the meetings, to be perfectly honest with you.
Well, I've been dropping in every now and again. I'm the marketing manager at Radical, so I haven't raced a full season and just doing bits and pieces. But it's great just to have the opportunity just to get out there once in a while, because every time you get in these cars, you just have so much fun that you just end up with a smile on your face, even when the weather's as bad as it is this weekend.
Join us back here at Snetterton after the break for the final round and the decider of the Dunlop Radical UK Cup 2012.